nothing more complicated than that.
I was going to ask also, I mean, I was reading an interview with Paolo Branco, the film's producer, who jokingly referred to you as the go-to guy for unfilmable novels. Obviously he did Crash and The Naked Lunch. Now, Cosmopolis has difficulties because it obviously mainly set in a car. How did you meet these challenges, and how did you also make changes in adaptation to make it for a screenplay?
Well, I've had the experience of doing, adapting quite a few novels, including Stephen King's Dead Zone and J.G. Ballard's Crash and William Burroughs' Naked Lunch and Patrick McGraw's Spider. So by this time, I'm well aware that there are a lot of things that are they are unfilmable. That, in other words, there are things that you can do in a novel that you simply shouldn't even bother trying to do in cinema. You know, you'll do something else. And you have to accept that you are creating a new thing. You are not really putting the novel on the screen. You are creating a brand new thing. And we've all seen movies where you have a voiceover where somebody is reading the novel to you as though you're some child at bedtime. And I think that is an admission of failure. You know, you have failed to understand the cinematic equivalent of what the book is. And so you try to fill it in with just reading the book. So I actually, the reason I could write the screenplay so quickly partly is because I knew which parts to just not deal with, to just leave out. And those are the things that were just so literary, innately literary, that there was no equivalent. And I can give you an example. Have you all seen the movie? Yes. Good. Well, in the book, Benno, the character played by Paul Giamatti, writes a journal. And in that journal, he talks about the body of Eric Packer lying on the floor beside him. And this is very early in the book. And he goes on, you know, you get to be inside the head of Benno Levin. And when I met Don DeLillo in Estoril in Portugal, he said, I was wondering how you were going to handle Benno's diary, and the way you handled it was to leave it out. And I said, yes, because I can't do that on film. I mean, I really can't. But what I give you instead is Paul Giamatti. You know, give you his face, his voice, his eyes, the way he moves. So that's my credit to fault swap, to use, you know, for a term. I give you that instead of Benno's journal, and that's the cinematic thing that I can do. And so that really is basically, for me, the way the process feels.
Let's bring Robert in, because we played your last film released in the UK, About Me. And I was impressed by that film because apparently you made a small trilogy about werewolves. But you know, that film, you seem to be really challenging yourself in moving into roles which are quite far removed from that. I mean, Bellamy, you played a character, to put it politely, was a cat. You know, he was out for what he could get in life. Your character, Eric Packer here, is even more complex. You know, he has a lot of issues. He has a very, very dark side. Was this a deliberate move to kind of test yourself and move into more varied water?
No, I mean, not really. I just kind of tried to follow this up.
So it's that button.
Yeah, no, I think I've tried to move away from anything in particular. I mean, Bellamy, I read about after the first Twilight and liked it then, and I thought it was kind of funny. It's the only job I've ever done where I was thinking it's kind of interesting, but the audience perception, like, you know, because people. Well, it was after the second Twilight where you know, you're playing one character which is supposed to be like, you know, the ideal boyfriend or whatever, and then you play some guy who's literally just preying on you know, bastardizing people loving him. But then I ended up doing it way afterwards when I kind of felt differently about myself. I'd done 2 more Twilight films by that point. But this, I just found this seemed really, really, really new. It wasn't just good. It was something which I don't think I'd seen before. And also, I mean, not just in the writing, but in some of the subject matter. I don't think you're going to see a 6-minute long prostate exam scene.
I have a collection of those scenes. I'll show them to you later.
And I mean, can I also ask, because I said, I mean, for me, having David Cronenberg here, who's such a big thing, was he a director whose work you sought out?